know, I love that a lot of moms have a party right before everybody goes back to school, or the first week that they go back to school. The moms are like, yay, our kids are back in school, until they remember that the homework starts again. And then we want summer break again.
Right, right.
Especially with this core curriculum, Vince.
Homework has worked for us.
It is, and I am not ashamed to admit that I have burst into tears before at the dining room table and said, I didn't like fifth grade math when I took it. Why am I having to take it again? Because it
Right, right.
is. It's exactly like that. I have to go and learn what it is that he got taught so that I can do the homework with him. What do you suggest for us?
It's
Help us.
tough. It's tough. It's also tough because you have schools now. In our earlier segment, we were talking about how schools are becoming more automated and they're becoming, a lot more connective to the families. Now we have schools that are starting to have no homework zones, where they're not having any homework, and homework is only done at school, which I think is a phenomenal idea because what
Really?
it's doing is it's freeing up the afternoons for our kids to be able to engage in the other activities that are necessary. Obviously, for our population, therapy services are very important, but also play and rest and extracurricular activities and all the other things that we want our kids to be involved in. But for the majority, and this is what we're reaching out to right now, still have an hour or two of homework a day. And I'm not exaggerating, an
No.
hour or two a day, which really, if you add that up, it's up to 10 hours a week of extra teaching that we are responsible at home to do. So how do we do this? How do we break this down? How do we, modify this? I think depending on the level of severity with your children, what we need to do is we need to start in the IEP process. We need to discuss accommodations when we're going through that process about modifying the amount of work that our kids need to do. Right. Oftentimes with our kids, if they can demonstrate competency by doing 3 questions or 4 questions, doing 15 more is just going to be overwhelming. It's more of a quantity versus quality, right? So I would have that put into the accommodation section of your IEP. That is, they can turn their homework can be modified, the amount of the homework can be reduced as long as it continues to show competency in the areas that are being taught. And I've seen a lot of kids be able to get that, which is great because if they go home and they have to answer 4 math class questions or 4 history questions or 4 parts of a worksheet or something like that, that becomes less overwhelming. It becomes less anxious for them. Their resistance goes down because they know they're able to do that. You're now going to get their best effort. You're now going to get their best attempt. So we're going to be able to actually see how well they are. Couple that with a lot of reinforcement for their success, they're not going to be overwhelmed. They're actually going to show us what they can do. Doing 2 hours of homework is not going to work. We're never going to get that much work done because it's already too overwhelming. And to break it, 2 hours of regular homework is 4 hours of homework for our kids.
Yeah.
So that becomes too overwhelming. So we need to get those accommodations.
I think that that's a great idea. And again, you can write that right into the IEP under the accommodations segment. And I think schools are usually they're very willing to listen when a parent says we need to make an accommodation with something like that. So if we make, and I think your point is so well taken, Vince, that if you can demonstrate that you know how to do it in 3 problems, it's not that much of a difference from doing 10 of them. So crazy amounts of homework sometimes it just feels like it's busy work.
Yeah. It's
But
different learning styles, right? You're
yeah,
looking at memorization in muscle memory, like for us and you and I, and this is how we learned our math, or this is how we learned our English. It was repetition over and over again. But that's not how our children learn. Our children, they learn things. They have different strategies. They learn things at different rates, and learn it different ways. So again, as long as we can show competency, and again, it's not doing the work for them, but they can show the competency of how they're doing it. Quantity isn't really important.
yeah.